it's still showing preview. Now it's saying you're live. Looks like
All
we're
right,
live.
we are live. Hello and welcome, everybody. We got another edition today of Wordfence Office Hours. Today's July 28th. We'll be getting everything going here just very shortly. We're going to give everybody just a few moments to get in and get settled in. I see we are up over 150 in the chat right now, hanging out and talking to Tim and Ram. So thanks, everybody, for coming over early and asking some questions. We started doing office hours a few months back after we realized we might not be able to get out to any WordCamps for a while, unfortunately. So that's something we love doing here at Wordfence, is going out to the WordCamps and talking WordPress and security with everybody. So that's where Wordfence office hours got started, and we're hoping to spread best security practices and security knowledge in general here and help with the protection that Wordfence offers. So I'm going to be joined here in just a few moments by Marketing Director Kathy Zant and Threat Analyst Chloe Chamberlain. And both of those will be familiar faces if you've tuned in to any previous episodes of Office Hours. So if you have not seen any episodes of Office Hours, you can catch up on those here on the YouTube channel, and I definitely recommend heading over and looking through those and checking some of those out after this stream, of course. We have some episodes that primarily focus on setting up the Wordfence plugin, going through the features. We set up rate limiting and brute force and 2FA, login security, so you can go through the older episodes and check those out if you're just getting started with Wordfence and you need help with that. Kathy also has some videos on YouTube on our channel that shows some other setup of the plugin and just security in general. So definitely check those out. I see in chat my volume is a little low. So today we are going to talk about auditing your site's security. So basically what we're going to look at is the key places that we've seen security issues on sites that we've cleaned in the past, and we've cleaned a lot of sites. And we're going to show you how to look for possible problems that you can fix on your own before hackers would find these vulnerabilities and potentially compromise the site. So that's pretty much what we're going to go over today. Now, we are going to be broadcasting this from Zoom to YouTube, so this is public forum. We ask that you don't post anything sensitive or private in the chat, and we'll do our best to moderate that because this will be available on the YouTube channel to watch afterwards. So if you have anything specific to your site or anything that would be sensitive like that, we ask that you send it in to feedback@wordfence.com. And in that email, you can use the subject Wordfence office hours, and we will post that email address in the chat as we go today. So feel free to send us an email and we'll get over those as quickly as we can. If you're new here to office hours and potentially to WordPress and Wordfence in general, WordPress is a great tool which allows you to get content online, and it makes publishing and customization quite simple. So with a WordPress site, there comes responsibility, and security is one of them. So WordPress, if you're not familiar, is powering about 35% of the web right now, and it has over 50,000 plugins. So it makes it a regular target for bots and hackers, which makes security very important. Wordfence is here to help with that and empower you to stay secure online. So as you know, Wordfence is a security plugin. We're on the wordpress.org repository, which means that you can download Wordfence at wordpress.org/plugins or from the plugin section of your site. And WordPress is the most popular plugin for WordPress, and it's used on over 3 million sites, which allows us to provide better protection, being able to monitor and see these attacks. You can check out what customers think about Wordfence if you're considering using it. If you're not already, you can look at the reviews directly on wordpress.org, where we have over 3,000 5-star reviews from customers there. These reviews speak to the tool that we have built at Wordfence, and also the support that we pride ourselves in providing. Wordfence overall, it's a firewall and malware scanner. The firewall and the rules keep your site protected very well. We also scan the entire site and files outside of your directory for WordPress. We also offer settings in the free version, such as brute force, rate limiting, numerous other features. Another free feature is two-factor authentication. Definitely good to lock down your site. Now, our team works very hard to find vulnerabilities, and not long after we do, we make sure we get those malware signatures and firewall rules out to protect your site as quickly as possible. And these are initially sent out to premium subscribers. Outside of that, if you're a free user, you would have a 30-day wait on those new firewall rules. Now, you can still protect yourself by either updating the vulnerable plugins or removing it and finding a replacement for that time. If you're a premium user, you're protected before it's updated. So it's one of the many great features. So if you're interested in supporting Wordfence, Premium is definitely an excellent way to do that. And one of the things you're getting are those rules and signatures. And also something else we're going to talk about probably a few times today is the real-time IP blacklist. And some other features. So we'll get to those. But as I mentioned, today we're going to take a look at auditing your site and keeping everything up to date and what you need to be looking at for your best security practices. So the first thing we're going to do here is bring in Chloe and Kathy. So how's it going over there? What's up, Kathy?
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Things are going pretty well. How are you doing, Chloe?
Things are going great.
Excellent. Scott, we're still getting some volume complaints, but they're sporadic. Some people are saying you're okay, and other people are saying, no, where's Scott? So that
Well, I'm going to get this mic in front of my camera then, and we'll get
All
a little
right,
bit
that
more
is
volume
fine.
here.
There you go. Okay,
I don't
great.
mind being covered up a little bit, so.
Well, we're keeping it real. Obviously, this is a Zoom call, and we are all in our homes in various stages of lockdown. So thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for joining us here today, because we're here to help you get more out of Wordfence and get more out of your WordPress security. But we have to do it from our homes. And that's, we don't have professional studios available to us. We've got some pretty expensive tools in order to do the best that we can with sound, but thanks so much. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to look at auditing site security. Sounds fun?
Yeah, we offer some services for auditing and cleaning, but we're going to try to give everybody a hand here. If you guys are thinking that you need to give your site a look over, if you're thinking maybe something might be wrong, or if you're just a little paranoid in general, follow along with us here, because we're going to hopefully get you in a good place to know the security of your site after today. So it's going to be fun. And both of you have cleaned sites in the past, right? Is that where you started here, Kathy, or were you doing something else initially?
That's where I started. Yeah, I was, I was homeschooling my daughter up in Mount Shasta, California. There's tons of economic opportunities there if you're into logging or pouring coffee, which I wasn't. So I was managing a bunch of websites for friends and family and old clients and whatnot. And so I had a bunch of WordPress websites, and I had Wordfence on them to help me manage them. And they put out a call for people to clean hack sites. And I couldn't do like a full-time thing because I was homeschooling, and that takes, as most of us know, during COVID, everybody's kind of been thrown into that. It takes a lot of work, and it's hard to do. So I could only do like 20 hours a week. So I just needed like something to engage my brain, something challenging. So I decided to answer that call for cleaning hack sites. I had done a few hack sites in the past, but yeah, I dove right into it, and I got bit by the bug of malware, I guess. It was really exciting to me to see what hackers were doing, how these intrusions were happening. And it was really cool to see the Wordfence team, how quickly they would act to write firewall rules when they would know a vulnerability was out there. And so I got bit by the security bug. I was in technology before that, but yeah, WordPress security became extremely interesting to me. So that's how I got started. And Chloe, you got started about the same time, but you were in what, customer service at that time?
Yeah, so I started out as a customer service associate, so just handling like pre-sales, billing kind of questions. And then I started getting some certifications, some security certifications. And then I found out that I really liked security. And that's when, so like a year, and Wordfence had a mystery job application. And so I decided I wanted to apply for an associate security position. And I kind of just named off a bunch of random security things, like I could help with anything, like I want to do anything. And from that application, they said, well, why don't we try you out as an associate security analyst, and you could start cleaning sites and working with the SST team. And that's where I started cleaning sites, and yeah, just kind of went from there.
Yeah, and now you are are you the most credentialed person here at Wordfence right now?
I think so.
I think so. I think you have more credentials than anyone. You definitely have set the bar pretty high, and I know even a lot of the developers are chasing you in terms of getting those security certifications. So, if anybody ever has a question about what's going on with security in WordPress, Chloe has the answer. And Chloe, your research has been just in the past, I'd say during 2020. You have found, do you know how many vulnerabilities that you found in WordPress plugins and themes?
Not off the top of my head. 10,
a lot though, isn't it?
20 maybe, yeah. It's actually, next week is like officially 1 year since I've been doing this, so yeah.
Oh, wow. Right, because it started at DEF CON last year is when you transitioned into threat research, right?
Yep. It started from scratch, and then, yeah, so a year.
Wow, that's amazing. A whole year. And yeah, you found vulnerabilities in Google Sitekit.
Some other stuff coming up. Yeah.
More stuff coming up. You have a post ready to go out today?
Yes, I do. That'll be out this afternoon, so check out.
Excellent. So
check your email.
If you are not on our check your email. If you're not on our email list, let this be a call to you to get on the email list, because we not only send out notifications when we're doing office hours on Tuesday mornings, but we also let you know when there are security vulnerabilities, possibly in a plugin or theme that is on your site. And so you want to know about that. If you are not on our list, go to wordfence.com, scroll to the bottom. There is a site security mailing list. You can go in there, put your email in, and you will get Chloe's email later today. Very important to do. So let's get started. We should probably dive into our actual content, otherwise we'll go over, right? So let's talk about why would somebody want to audit their site security? Obviously you get your website. We've been picking on Sally's cat blog the past few weeks on Wordfence office hours, and you get a site started, and you are focused on creating content, on posting pictures, on marketing your site and getting visitors to your site. If you're running a business, if you have Sally's selling cat toys, you want to ensure that sales are happening. So you focus on that part of your business, and you may, in the midst of doing tons of different things, forget that you installed a plugin that you tested out and are no longer using. You may have forgotten that you installed a test account on that same cPanel, and that test WordPress installation is there and you forgot about it, and that's not getting taken care of because you just tested something. It's always good to, every once in a while, just kind of take a look at your entire site and your entire hosting environment and look for potential problems. Because I'll tell you what, if you go to wordfence.com and go to the homepage and you scroll down just a little bit, you know what you're going to see? You're going to see some actual statistics that come from our actual threat research, from our threat analysts and our threat intelligence systems, that will tell you exactly how many hits are hitting the Wordfence network worldwide. Wordfence, of course, is installed on over 3 million WordPress websites worldwide. So we see those attacks as they're coming at WordPress. We know the IP addresses that are on that real-time blacklist that are being blocked from our premium customers. And all those statistics are available on wordfence.com. So if you go there, you can see exactly what's going on. And I can tell you there are close to 4 billion attacks that have been blocked in the last 30 days alone. So if there is a vulnerability on your website right now, chances are that a hacker knows about it. Chances are that if they haven't found it yet, they're going to find it eventually. And that vulnerability might be as a part of the hosting account, it might be a bad FTP password, it might be a plugin that needs an update, it might be something that you have completely forgotten about. So just like you might want to audit your finances at the end of every year as you're preparing to do taxes, you probably want to audit your site security. Audit the security of your home, audit the security of anything. You want to take a look and just go over some basic security principles. And so we've devised an actual process. We have this available on our website because we sell a security audit as a product. So you can actually buy a security audit from a security analyst and have them go over the whole site for you. But we understand, that might not be in the books for everyone. You can download the report. And in the back of the report, we talk about everything we're looking for in a security audit. And you can do that audit yourself. But some of these things might be a little confusing and maybe a little challenging. So we wanted to do this office hours today to help you walk through a security audit for your own site. So we're going to show you what are the things that our trained security analysts are actually looking at when they are doing a security audit, so you can do that too. And Chloe, you and I both worked on the security services team, and I thought, since you're in the code much more than I am, I thought that this would be something that you could do and sort of give people an overview of what they can look at when they're looking at site security. Do you want to start walking us through some of the main problems that we've seen, like with hacked sites?
Yeah,
and
of course.
What people can look for?
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and jump my screen real quick. Can you see that all right?
Yep, can see it.
Awesome. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do for your site audit is you're going to want to either make your own checklist or find a checklist online. You can easily find the Wordfence checklist that we use for our site security audits by going to wordfence.com/site-security-audit, and then you can go down and you can download a sample report just by clicking that, and you can see this. You can use this as a general guide when doing your own site audit. It's got all these checks here that you can go through. Today, we're going to go over a smaller keynote kind of version of this security audit checklist. And you can make a list based off what we go over today, or you can use this site audit checklist from our site. And now to dive in, the first thing we're going to want to do is just some general checking some glaringly obvious kind of things. So the first thing you'll want to do is run a malware scan. And that's just to make sure that your site's all clear and everything, and make sure that you're not going to be needing to do a site cleaning instead of a site audit. And I would recommend running a high sensitivity Wordfence scan. It's going to check everything out of all of our scan options, which we go to real quick. And so it's got all these general options checked. So it's going to go through all the checks, and you'll want to go to the scan and then just click start the new scan, and then you'll get all the results here. And for us, we have no malware results, so we don't have any malware on our site, so we can begin our audit. And it's good that we have no malware. And so I'm going to...
Always a positive.
Yeah. And so I have my checklist that I'm going to be going off of, and you'll see me from time to time glancing down to make sure that I'm not missing anything for you. And so the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our site isn't on any blacklists. And so what we can use is MX Toolbox. Go ahead and copy the link here and paste it. And so I'm going to use their super tool. You can just go to mxtoolbox.com, and I'm going to use the super tool, and I'm just going to select blacklist check. And I'm going to go ahead and put Sally's cat login, and then I'll run the blacklist check. And then you'll scroll down and you'll see if everything is okay. And if everything is okay, then you have passed the blacklist check. But if everything is not okay, and let's say that one of them says that you're on the blacklist, you want to consult with their site, see what you can do to get removed, figure out why you've been on the blacklist. A common one that I would see in support requests was that a site was hosted on the same IP as other sites, or the same server, and they shared the same IP, and one site would get blacklisted, which would make their site get on the blacklist. So that's one thing that might have happened if you know your site has no malware and you're on a blacklist. So at that point, I would check with your hosting provider to see what they can do, maybe switch you to a different server, give you a different IP or whatever. If you know you have no malware on your site. But if you're on a blacklist and you're iffy if you have malware, then I recommend taking another look, running another scan, seeing if maybe another site in your hosting panel is infected, and going from there. And then once you've determined if you're on any blacklist or not, and if you are all clear there, then you'll want to make sure that your site search results are clear. So to do this, you can go to Google and we can use their search functions. And what you want to do is you want to go site and then quote, and then you want to put your site's domain. And then it'll give you all the results for your site. So we can see they're all Sally's Cat Blog. And we can see that there's nothing weird in here right now. I don't have any gibberish. I don't have any Japanese words on the screen or anything like that. And so I think I'm pretty clear here. I have no like links to other sites or anything like that. Just to give you an example, this is what the Japanese I can't spell right now, looks like. So just grab this for one example. So your search results would look a little bit something like this, if you can see that right here. Yeah. So that's what it might look like if you have an infection on your site, or if you just have maybe cached search results or something. Then after you've cleaned your site, if you have like cached results or rankings and things like that. So at that point, you'll either want to say that you've passed or you've failed, and then you'll want to figure out if what steps you need to take to get those results removed, which usually can be done in Google Search Console for Google. And then the next thing you want to check is see if you're running any ad networks on your site. I currently don't have any on Sally's Cat Blog, but if you do, you want to make sure that you're not using one that pulls in malicious, or not pulls in, but accepts malicious ads. There's been a couple times where we've seen on the site cleaning team that a site wasn't necessarily infected, but they were running bad ads on their site, which would then make it look like their site was infected and do things to the users. Kathy, you saw a couple of those too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And it's really frustrating for us as a site because the site's perfectly clean. It's just, there's this JavaScript that's on the site that's pulling in ads from a network, and that network wasn't necessarily, filtering for really good ads. And so the site would then have malicious content, or one site that I cleaned had a malicious redirect. And so they were certain that their site was hacked, but it was just this ad network was not really filtering their ads to make sure that, there was no quality control on the ad pool that was being pulled in. So it's really important that if you are using ads on your site, that you kind of you have to monitor your ad network and make sure that they're that accepting, good ads, because you're responsible for what's happening on your site.
Yeah. So make sure you're not running any bad ad networks. And then the next thing you'll want to do is make sure that your log files look good. You want to make sure they're enabled, first of all, that you have logging enabled on your server. So what you'll want to, or your hosting account. And so what you'll want to do is, I'm using Bluehost for Sally's Cat Blog, and you'll want to find the access log area. I just like to search for log, and you'll go to the raw access area. And this is common for all cPanel accounts. It might look a little bit different if you're not running a cPanel based hosting account. But generally you can find it by just looking for the logs. And you want to make sure that you have this option enabled, and that will archive your logs for you. So it'll be added to your home directory, and it'll process them every 24 hours. I don't recommend enabling the option to remove previous months of archived logs. I recommend that you take that step yourself and determine if you want to have them removed after a month or 2 months or 3 months, and kind of manually review those logs before you get rid of them. And so with this step, you're going to want to make sure that you take a look at the logs and you make sure there's no suspicious entries in there. If you see that your logging has went from the 16th of June and then it jumps to the 28th of July, for example, and then maybe an attacker has gone in and erased part of your log files to hide their intrusion. So you'll want to make sure that you're getting all those log files. There's no errors from it. There's no one's been into your account and is manipulating those log files. So you want to make sure those look good. And then you want to also check to see if there's any suspicious log entries. So like if you have a WP login access that redirects, does a 302 redirect to the WP admin, you get a 200 success error, then that looks like someone's logged in. You'll just want to verify that your IP is the one that was logged in. And if it wasn't your IP, maybe it was someone else on your team, but you just want to verify that those login attempts are legitimate and that you don't have anybody getting into your site and hiding and yeah, making sure that everything looks good there. And then from there, you're going to want to look at your WordPress core themes and plugins. This is really important. You want to make sure that everything is up to date, and you can do this in one little central area by going to your dashboard and then clicking updates. You want to make sure that everything is up to date here. So right now I am up to date on my WordPress version, so I don't need to update anything here. Looks like automatic updates are enabled, so I don't have any plugins that are out of date. But if you did, they would show up right here, and you could just select them all and click update, and those would update for you. And you just want to make sure that everything is up to date from here. So right now you can see that everything is up to date. You can also click check again if you want it to run again. And then if things aren't up to date, you want to make sure you update those to make sure that you don't have any vulnerabilities. See, look at that. We have one right now. You can click, after I clicked check again, and then you can click update plugins, and that will run. And
Chloe.
So, yes.
Chloe, we have a question from someone saying, do mainstream plugins, like the larger plugins like Elementor or WooCommerce, have a smaller or bigger need for updating? Because they are very frightened about updating like large plugins like that. What would your advice be for like, say you have a storefront and you have tons of orders coming in, WooCommerce needs an update. What would you advise someone to do in those kinds of situations?
The first thing I would do is check the changelog and see if it says anything about a security fix. And if it says something about a security fix, I would recommend doing everything in your power to get that up to date as soon as possible. If you're running Wordfence, it's highly likely that we have either created a WAF rule for it, or we're in the process of creating a WAF rule for it, and we'll have that protection for you in the interim time where you need to get an update out. But for those bigger plugins, they still have the same amount of risk as smaller plugins. I would say all plugins are pretty much equal in risk, though some are more secure, obviously. But I would just take that mindset that everything has kind of an equal risk. Yeah, so check the changelog, and if you see a security fix, do everything in your power to get that updated. If you don't see a security fix, like a little thing that says that there was a security fix in it, then you can take a little bit more time, and I think it should be okay as long as that's not a security fix. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, that does make sense. And the other thing is too, is like, you know, if it's that mission critical that an update is going to cause you significant problem to your business, like you're going to lose money if your site goes down for like 10 minutes or however long it would take for you to like restore from backup or whatever. You know, obviously you want to do backups before you do especially major version updates, but staging servers, you know, a lot of companies will ensure that they have a staging server set up to make sure that, like, if you perform an update on a staging server, make sure everything looks okay. Just make sure that staging server is a replica of your production server, and update things there to make sure that the update goes okay and isn't like having some kind of conflict with another plugin or whatever. And then that will, I think, allay a lot of the fears that people have with major updates to major plugins.
Awesome. Yeah. So as you can see here, I had an error updating my plugin. Update package not available because Elementor Pro is a Pro Premium plugin, so it doesn't have access to just grab that from there. So for this one, I'm going to have to either use their custom update. Some premium themes and plugins have like custom updaters that you can use to update, or you have to go directly to the site and download the updated version and then re-upload that. So that might be how you have to do it. Just depends on the plugin or theme. You want to make sure that those are up to date as well. They have mailing lists usually, and different ways that you can get notified to see if you need an update your plugin or theme when you're using those premium ones. The next thing you want to check is how many themes you have installed. It's kind of common to just have a bunch of extra themes laying around on accident because you just kind of forget about it after you activate the theme you're going to use. So you want to check that out and see if you have these extra themes. And if you do, I would recommend removing them. If you don't need them, I don't think you need 3 miscellaneous themes laying around because you never know what could happen. There could be a vulnerability that's discovered in one of them and an attacker somehow tries to exploit it. So just get rid of those and have them off your site. If you ever need to use them again, you can just reinstall it. It's fairly simple and easy for the most part. So yeah, just remove all those extra things you don't need. And if you go to your plugins, you want to do the same thing. You want to make sure that you don't have any like deactivated plugins lying around. Just delete those. You can install them later if you need them. And then take a look at all your plugins and see if you're really using all of them. And if you're not, then deactivate and delete them because you don't need a bunch of miscellaneous plugins lying around again because if a vulnerability is discovered and you're late to updating your plugin or 0-day is found and there's no patches known yet and a hacker is going around and exploiting it everywhere and nobody knows about it yet, not having it on there is the safest thing that you can do. And then let's see if I checked all that off. Okay, so I think we can move to our administrative and user account section. So what we're going to want to do is check out our users and make sure everything is secure there. You'll want to make sure that you don't have any extra user accounts. You don't want to have any rogue administrative user accounts. And you want to make sure everyone's using a strong password. So just at first glance, I only have 2 users, but so let's say you're the only admin on your site and you don't have any subscribers. You want to check here and make sure that you don't have any rogue subscriber accounts lying around if you know that there's not supposed to be any. And make sure that you don't have any weird admin accounts that have weird emails or weird usernames, and make sure that you get those deleted if they're there. And then you'll also want to make sure that, one second. Rogue emails. Okay, one other thing. Make sure you don't have an admin username because that's a prime target for attackers. They'll just try and brute force with the default admin. Make sure that your username is changed. You can do this in the database, or you can do it by creating a new user and then attributing all your administrative user content to the new user with a better username that is less likely to be targeted in a full-blown attack. And then you'll also want to make sure that every user account is secure. So your contributors, your authors, everything across the board is secure. Your passwords are good because even contributor accounts and subscriber accounts and author accounts and all those have vulnerabilities unique to them that can be exploited. So if you have a contributor account laying around from 2014 that you had one guest author, and back then you weren't as concerned with password security, so they might have signed up their account with password 123 and you never really went to dig deeper into that. And so it's just been laying around since 2014, and then a vulnerability comes along like the one we discovered a couple weeks ago in all-in-one SEO, and an attacker tries to exploit that vulnerability and they find a contributor account on your site that has a weak password that you totally forgot about, and they use that to get in and to exploit the vulnerability. That we don't want that to happen. So you just got to make sure that you don't have any extra accounts lying around and that you're using all those really strong passwords and using the principle of least privilege to make sure that you're not assigning people too many privileges that they can later use to exploit vulnerabilities or just, yeah, vulnerabilities. And then you want to make sure that you have 2-factor authentication enabled for at least your high-level users so that brute force attacks are less successful or not successful. And if your site is compromised and on like a list of passwords that someone knows and can use, that 2-factor will stop them from being able to get in because they can't get that two-factor authentication code. Yeah, so that's very important. Then you want to make sure you have Wordfence running properly on your site. So you want to go to Wordfence, make sure that your firewall is enabled and protecting, which is right here. And you want to make sure that you have extended protection enabled so that all PHP requests will be processed by the firewall prior to running. And you just there's a little button here that normally says enable extended protection. So you just click it and then it'll ask you to download your htaccess file. And then you download that and then you click go. And then it's usually that simple. I believe SiteGround, there's a couple more steps. And we're always happy to help you out with that. If you have any questions, you can email us at, Kathy, what's the email?
It's feedback@wordfence.com.
feedback@wordfence.com. So if you need help with that, we're always happy to help you. And then you want to make sure that your scanner is running, of course. You'll just make sure that you have it set to a scheduling option that you like. It's default to choose whenever Wordfence would like. And I believe the premium feature is that you can manually schedule scans. So you can click this, and if you want it to happen once daily, twice daily, every other day, you can choose how often you want it to run, and you can choose your preferred start time, and make sure that you have that set to something that you really like, and that will make sure that the Wordfence scan is running optimally for you. And then are malware signatures downloading properly? Kathy, do you have a little bit more information about that?
If malware signatures are downloading, so there may be something on your server that is not allowing your site to get updated malware signatures or firewall rules. And so Wordfence will alert you if there's a problem in doing that. You can go into diagnostics under tools, and that may give you some indication that there's an element of your site that is not functioning properly. If you do have any problem downloading malware signatures, and you can always reach out for support. If you're watching this office hours, you can write to feedback@wordfence.com. We have a support team in place because people are installing Wordfence in so many different environments. This Sally's Cat blog is on Bluehost servers, but there's SiteGround and there's GoDaddy and there's a myriad of different hosting environments, and each hosting provider has things set up slightly differently. So our support team is attuned to what's happening with these types of hosting providers, and we can help you troubleshoot any kinds of problems that exist on your server that are preventing your site, your Wordfence plugin on your site, from communicating with Wordfence to make sure that you have the latest and greatest firewall rules and malware signatures.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
All right, so from there, just real quickly, we want to make sure that you've hardened your WordPress site. There's actually a guide that WordPress provides that you can use. It's just WordPress hardening. And you can it's the first one that pops up. But a few of the key things here is you want to make sure that your WP config file has salts. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. So you go here, you click view. And so this little area right here is your salts and keys, and you want to make sure that you have some there. Default, sometimes it's not already there, so you just want to make sure you have those. And you can generate it by going to this link right here. It'll look like this. And then you just copy those, and you would just paste them right in this field here. But I'm just viewing it, so I can't paste it. And then you'd also want to make sure that you disallow file editing from the WordPress dashboard as another hardening, important hardening thing. So you'll click this. It would be in the WP config file as well. And at the bottom, you would just want to add, let me go ahead and click edit for this just so I can show you. You would want to add this line at the bottom. I think it needs to be, one second. Let me double check and make sure I'm not showing you the wrong spot.
Okay.
Ah.
Something didn't like that.
File editing. I want to make sure that I'm not putting it in the wrong spot. I believe it's right. I think I can just throw it in the end. So let's, I'll verify real quick. So disable file editing. This is what it looks like. Define, disallow file edit, true. Save changes. And what this does is over here on appearance, you can see that there's a theme editor. There's the same thing for the plugin, and this will disappear if I did it right. Yeah, so sorry you're not allowed to access this page. It disables that. So one thing hackers can do is they can get in and then they can modify those plugin files to contain malicious PHP and then run those. So that's just one way to harden your WordPress a little bit and make it harder for attackers to escalate their privileges and get access to your server and that stuff. And so we're going to go back. And one more thing I'd like to recommend you do is disable file execution in the uploads directory, because sometimes plugins can contain file upload vulnerabilities, and those files go into the uploads directory. So by disabling file execution in the uploads directory, those PHP files cannot execute, and therefore it makes their jobs a lot harder. And you can find this by going to all options under general Wordfence options. And it's this one, disable code execution for the uploads directory. Just check it and save changes. And if you want to see how this works, I can throw something in the content just real quick. Uploads. I'm just going to create a new file. It's just going to be a simple PHP file. I'm going to edit it. Save changes, and this should not work when I do it now. We get a forbidden because now I'm not allowed to execute that PHP file. So that is a very important thing to have enabled, and make sure it stops PHP files from getting executed and attackers being able to escalate those privileges. I believe Elementor Pro was a vulnerability that we could get PHP files uploaded into the uploads directory. It was 0 days, so it was being exploited before anyone knew about it. If you had this enabled, you wouldn't have been able to be compromised because they wouldn't have been able to execute the PHP files in there. So it's a really important thing to have enabled for those 0 days that we don't get to make WAF rules for or know about until it's already being exploited. And also, just final thing here is make sure you disable directory listing so that the hackers can't Google dork and find what plugins you're running and find you as a target. And yeah, so disable directory listing so you can't get Google dorked. All right.
Good point.
So that is all I have for the first chunk that we're going over about just kind of general WordPress security, basic things. I think Scott's going to tell you a little bit more about Wordfence while I get set up for telling you a little bit more about your hosting environment.
Thank you, Chloe. Lots of good information there. Lots of things to consider. As Chloe mentioned, premium support, and Kathy mentioned as well, we're happy to help out in premium support. So first off, we want to say thanks to our premium subscribers, for making this possible and for being able to do these streams and making the threat research that Chloe and Ram and the rest of the threat analysts do possible. And that helps us get those firewall rules out. So we really appreciate your support. Now in premium support, I'm a customer support engineer, so I'm working in the premium queue for a majority of the day. Sometimes whenever we help out, somebody will write in, they'll just want to get a good idea of their site's security standing right now. And we can go in and check out the diagnostics and look for any connectivity errors or permission issues or anything that might be out of date. Chloe had mentioned not carrying too many themes on the site, as you don't want too many themes deactivated and sitting around. It's just taking up space, and it's a potential security risk. So those are some things we may see in premium support when we take a look. But there are cases, though, where you might want a comprehensive audit. And thankfully, that's one of the services that we offer at Wordfence. So we also have a site cleaning as well as a site audit. And what we're talking about today is the audit. And the audit has about a 60-point inspection of the site. And we've posted some samples of that in the chat. So if you want to try to do it yourself, that's something that you can follow, as we mentioned earlier. And the audit, if we find any malware during an audit, we convert you to a site cleaning, and there's no additional charge there as long as there's no additional sites or anything. So it's a great thing for peace of mind. You know, we look through everything. If we find malware, it gets removed and the site gets cleaned. So normally audits, just like our cleanings, are normally priced at $179, and those come with a Wordfence Premium license, which is $99 by itself. Also included is a 90-day guarantee that your site will remain clear of malware. And that's the 90-day guarantee. You have to just follow a few things to get yourself that guarantee. In our report, we give you a checklist of things that you need to look at or things that you need to do, such as changing your passwords and maybe deleting an abandoned plugin or things along those lines. So nothing too difficult. So maybe you just had an audit done. Maybe you just had a cleaning done. What's included with your premium license? So as I alluded to earlier, first off, the real-time IP blacklist. This is something that automatically is populated by us. You don't need to do anything with it. It's automatically maintained. It stops the most malicious IPs and the most active IPs that are hitting Wordfence sites on the web, and they're automatically stopped from interacting with your website. So it's really useful. If you get a chance and you have premium now, go into your live traffic and look in your blocked and blocked by firewall. And at times you can see a large number of requests get blocked by that real-time IP blacklist. So it's an awesome feature. We went over the malware signatures and the firewall roles. Those are immediately sent out to our premium subscribers as soon as we release them. And oftentimes that's the same day that we find a vulnerability that we can get those out. There's a 30-day wait for our free users. But this is also done automatically. And we talked about the role update there briefly a moment ago. And you can always update those manually as well. So if you see that message, one of the things you might consider is updating it manually. There might have been an intermittent connectivity issue there. So that's something you can always do. And something we do in premium support is check the diagnostics for any permissions issues on your WF logs folder. And that could cause issues as well. Another feature with premium is country blocking. Country blocking is something that I typically set up on all my sites to block even just the login form. And whenever you just have one or two people logging into your site, you can really lock down your site by restricting access to the login form from a majority of the other countries and just keeping it open for you. And there's some cool options in there with country blocking, such as the bypass cookie, which is pretty much just a path on your site that you can set up. And say you have a designer who is working in a country that you have blocked, you can just send him a link, and when he clicks on it, he'll have access and be able to bypass the country blocking. So lots of little cool things in there. Another feature is something we talked about a moment ago with scan scheduling. And this allows you to set exactly when and how often the scans run on your site. And this is great if you come in at a certain time of the day and you want your scan to already be done and you want to see what you have to do. You can set them up to run as frequently as you want at a certain time of the day or a couple times a day. Maybe you have low resource on your site or through your provider, so you just want them to run occasionally. You have many options there. And last but not least, also included with the premium is the premium support. So as I mentioned earlier, we're always happy to help out and support. And myself and Tim, who's helping out in chat right now, are two of us that you may chat with in support. So we're always happy to give you a hand. If you're unsure about your site right now or you want us to take a look, we'd be happy to take a look, and you can always write in about that. So on the topic of auditing, I believe Chloe has a second part, and she's going to talk about what needs your attention on the hosting side. So what do you have, Chloe?
All right, let's get into it. So I'm going to share my screen again. Can you see that all right?
Yep, looks good.
Yes.
Thank you. So there's a couple more things that you need to take into consideration. First things first, you need to make sure you have backups enabled. How often you backup is going to be totally dependent on you, your site, and what you're comfortable with. But as a general rule of thumb, you should keep about 3 months of backups at least, very least. And then I would recommend 12 months. And then these can be from any increment to like whole site backup, to one day you back up your WP content folder, one day you back up your database. You can incrementalize it, and to lessen the load on your server and how long it takes, you can do some different techniques, but it's definitely very important to make sure you have those backup files, because if anything goes wrong, you have a backup to fix your site. So if you get hacked and you have a backup from a couple weeks ago and you know it's clean, and you don't make too many updates on your site, you can feel comfortable using that backup. If you have a lot of data coming into your site, you're selling a lot of products like all day, like hour by hour, then you might want to consider a lot more backups. So more during the day of your database, but your files probably aren't going to change as much as your database. So you can do those files a lot less than you would your database. And so for this, some hosts have it built in. You can check with your host if they have it built in and what methods you need to do to enable it, or if it's already enabled, figure out how often they're doing it. You can change that. And if not, there's several plugins out there for you. I have a little list to give you. WP Backup, Updraft Plus, Backup Buddy, Duplicator, Back WP Up are a couple options that you can use. Most of those, if not all of them, give you options to set how often you want backups to be done and what you want those backups to be done with. And so definitely have those just in case things go wrong security wise, or just generally. It's really nice to have those, and it's really, 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 really important, and really, really important. And so from there, you want to make sure that your server doesn't have any security issues. So you want to make sure that like PHP, SQL, your kernel and everything are up to date. You can check that under the Wordfence diagnostics area. So let's see. So here you can get all this information, just expand it all. You can see your database version, you can see your PHP version, and then you can just search, like copy this, like MySQL. And vulnerabilities. And then you can just get an idea if there's any vulnerabilities out there for your version and stuff. And if there is, you can check with your hosting provider to see if they've patched it, or if you need to make an update and get your versioning up to date and secured. You can also use PHP info to do this, but if you do, make sure that you delete that file after, so that someone doesn't find it and figure out what versions of things you're running. Because if they do, then they can use that information to get into your server and your site and do all sorts of bad stuff. The next thing you want to check is see if you are using an SSL certificate, so that your site is HTTPS instead of HTTP. What this does is it encrypts your traffic being sent from a client to a server. So if your customers, say you run a shop, your customers are sitting in a coffee shop, their data isn't going to be transferred unencrypted. And I have Wireshark open real quick, because I just wanted to show you what logging into your WordPress site would look like. I'll go ahead and open up this TCP stream. And so you can see we have a post to WP login. And if you scroll down, you can see the login username, and you can see the password, which I left blank for this just because, but it would have password in plain text here. And that's without an SSL certificate installed. If I had installed an SSL certificate, let's see if we can grab what this would look like real quick. So I'm just gonna exit out of it real quick and pop it back open. And I'm gonna go log into a site real quick with HTTPS with an SSL certificate. Sally's cat blog. And Sally has an SSL certificate, or does she? She does, I think, already. And so and so if I click capture, I'm going to click login real quick. I'm just going to stop it. And okay, everything is just a jumbled up mess here because it's encrypted. I think this is my handshake for it. Follow. think this is that handshake, and I'm pretty sure it is. I could be wrong, but this gives you a good idea of what it looks like if you're running a SSL, or if you have an SSL certificate installed. It sends that traffic encrypted and jumbled up so nobody can read it. And if you're in a coffee shop, no one can sit there, turn on Wireshark or a sniffer and sniff the network and then capture that data, steal credit card information and stuff. It's less for securing your site per se, but it's more for securing the data that's happening and being transferred and your customers. It's more important to make sure that you are keeping your customers safe, and it's really important. Kathy, does that make sense how that works?
Yeah, it does. And this really reminds me of how important security audits are, because 10 years ago, and some of us have had, WordPress websites for a very long time. And 10 years ago, SSL certificates were sort of this extra thing, or you only need that if you're doing commerce. And right now, SSL certificates are important, not just for your security, but for SEO. And I have sites that, my friends, that I help them take care of and stuff, and they don't have SSL on it. And these are the kinds of things that an audit will expose to you, that if you go back to your site, it just like, you right now might think that your site is just fine. You go and you're logging in and you're doing stuff, but there might be something, in 5 years or in 2 years that is new, that's important, that is now the de facto standard for every WordPress website out there. But right now it's not. And you might be thinking that, I just don't need this thing. Well, right now you need SSL. Right now, it's not only important for your security, it's important for your SEO. And so to go back to your site and look for these glaring things that, you might know that you need. My friend doesn't know that he needs a SSL certificate on his server, and his hosting provider didn't give it to him at that time. And now, we have to go back and talk to the hosting provider and say, the site needs SSL, and they're going to give it to him for free, but because he's not instigating that, it's not there right now. So this is the type of important information that may not seem like critically important, but it's really important for the site security and the health of your site, just being on the internet right now.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can do this really easily. Some hosting providers give you the ability to just like click and it's installed and it's like all set, and you just have to change your site URL and maybe use an SSL plugin to help configure it. But you can use Let's Encrypt as well, and you can reach out to your hosting provider. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. And then from there, you want to make sure that if you're using FTP, you have secured passwords. You're using strong passwords there. And I would recommend using SFTP if the option is there for you, because that's going to be sending it encrypted rather than not encrypted. And then using SSH instead of both of those, as it's going to provide you the most optimal security if you're trying to access your files remotely. And then if you're not using them and you can turn them off, I would recommend turning them off. There's no reason to have it enabled if you don't need it enabled. And then you want to check and make sure that all your file permissions are set correctly. I believe it is 755 for folders and then 644 for files. You can do this in your file manager by just like clicking the permissions, and you can just change it. Like if I want it's already 755, but let's just do something like this. It's that easy. You just do that. And you can also do it using like a file manager, like FileZilla or something, if you don't want to use your cPanel file manager or you don't have a cPanel file manager. From there, you want to make sure that your hosting account is protected. So you also have two-factor authentication enabled there if you have that option. Again, if your site or your password gets compromised, that will make sure that they can't use the password to get in because they can't get your two-factor authentication code. And on that topic, I had a thought. Make sure, okay, there it is. Make sure that you're not using the same password for your WordPress site, your cPanel, file manager, all those things. Make sure that you have different passwords for all of those. You can check that while you're doing your site audit. And if you do have the same password, make sure you go ahead and change those. From there, make sure that your site is isolated from all other sites. For example, Sally's cat blog has testing Sally's cat blog in here. That shouldn't be there. We should have it isolated away from that. As you can see in a previous office hours, Sally's cat blog got hacked because she had this site in here. So you want to make sure that you have your sites all isolated, different accounts, just so that one site can't compromise another site. And then like horror stories from being on the site cleaning team where there's like 50 sites in one cPanel and all of them are compromised because one of them got compromised. So you want to try and make sure that doesn't happen because it is not fun. And then you also want to make sure that you don't have any .my.cnf files lying around. You can just go ahead and do that by searching here, and no records are found, so you're good. You don't need to remove anything. That can be considered a security issue. And a while ago, I talked about PHP info files lying around. You can check if you have any just like standard ones lying around by doing this, by doing a quick search like that. Or you can like check the whole thing. There's one for the diagnostics and duplicator. Cool.
Yeah. So a lot of plugins do use that, use a PHP info file. But they secure it usually that's protected. So if it's in a plugin directory, you'll see some kind of protection. So like at the top, what is it? It's protected, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the basic code is just, a PHP info call. And so you can have one that's unprotected. And so it's really important to look for those. But if you're seeing that, search come up with plugins, they're typically protected. But of course, if you want to go poking around, you can verify that like Chloe has.
And one way you can like grep all your files for PHP, like the function itself, but you don't have to do that. I think just checking for phpinfo.php would be good enough, because that's the way that hackers usually find them. And then from there, do we have anything else that you think would be really important to cover, Kathy?
I think that's the main gist of it. And that really gives you an idea of like the types of things that you're going to look at and how to find them. Now, obviously, we are recommending that you go find that security audit sample report that's on the wordfence.com site. Just scroll to the bottom, look for site security audit, and then go find that sample report. And that's got the checklist there. And if you don't remember what we've covered here, obviously this video will be available so you can refer back to it. But there are notes in the back of that report that tell you exactly what our security analysts are going to be looking for. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible so that you can, look at your site security with the eyes of a security analyst. We don't believe that we have all the answers in security. Well, we have a lot of answers with security, but we're not like totally the security experts, and it's like your doctor and you can only let a security expert look at your site. We think you have the capabilities and the intelligence and the ability to go audit your site security. So we give you as much information as possible in order to do this on your own. And we believe that you can do this on your own. Obviously, if it gets overwhelming, if you need help, if you just want some expert that's looked at 1,000 sites and audited all of them before, you can turn it over to us and you get a premium license along with it. And it's a tremendous value to protect your site. But you can do this yourself, and you should be doing this yourself, even if you have us do it, in 2020, 2021, maybe you would like to do it and go through it yourself. We do think that it is very important to consider yourself a security expert and get educated in what is necessary in order to keep your site secure, because the more information you have, the better security decisions you're going to make and the safer your sites are going to be. So Chloe, I think you've given a great overview of how to audit your WordPress site security. And they need to do this because because people like you and your evil twins are finding security vulnerabilities all the time, right? And you have a post coming out later today with another security vulnerability.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So you'll want to be on our mailing list and get that notification later today, and make sure that you update everything. And you have additional stuff coming out that we were talking about bringing some of the vulnerability research that you've been doing to office hours. Can you tell us a little bit about what we might expect over the next over the next week or two.
Some good
Just
stuff.
a tease. Good stuff.
I can't go into too many details because I don't disclose anything, but there's some really important stuff that we'll be covering next week. So once everything is all fixed up, we'll be able to let you know what's going on and what you need. We'll just always update anything if you can, just update and you'll be secured. And Wordfence is protecting you. So
yeah, definitely. Great. Well, if you guys got anything out of this, if this was valuable for you, please give us a thumbs up down below the video here on YouTube. There's something down there. If you can just hit us a thumbs up, because that gives us the information we need to bring back to management to say that office hours is valuable for our customers, and we want to keep doing these, keep bringing you information so that you have it available to you, not only to participate with us on Office Hours Live and experience, chatting with our team here and being here with us, but also so that these videos are available as a resource on our YouTube channel that you can come back to time and time again and go find whatever information, whatever walkthrough you need. We're trying to fill our channel up with as much information as possible, so you have these resources, so that the WordPress community as a whole has these resources, so that they can come here and make sure that their site is safe. The reason we're doing this is because we believe that if we help one person secure their WordPress website and provide that information to the community as a whole, it's going to make WordPress a safer environment for us all. And we fully agree with the mission of the WordPress project to democratize publishing and give a voice to as many people as possible. But we want to help keep those voices safe. And in order to do so, you have a responsibility, this asset, this place where you write, where you share your cat pictures, where you share information about your life, or you publish information about what's going on in the world. Whatever WordPress is doing for you, we believe that that is of value. And when something is valuable, we want you to ensure that that stays safe. So that's what we are here to do. If this is helpful to you, please thank our premium customers, because our premium customers are the ones that fund Wordfence, and the 3 million sites around the world that are running Wordfence are the ones that are giving the threat intelligence or the threat data that is necessary for us to understand the landscape of the threats against WordPress. And our threat intelligence team is supported by the premium customers who buy a premium license to leverage all of what is available there, but also to fund the research that Chloe's doing, that Ram is doing, that the rest of our threat intelligence team is doing, and writing malware signatures to protect, to scan your site, to let you know when the latest malware might have been infecting your site, to write firewall rules to protect against the vulnerabilities that we see being attacked. And you can see those statistics right on the wordfence.com site. You go there and you can see exactly how many attacks we've blocked in the last 30 days and how many attacking IP addresses are on that real-time blacklist. So that's really important. So we're really thankful that you came here today and watched Wordfence Office Hours with us. And thank you to Ram and Tim, who have been busy answering questions in chat. Thank you for asking questions in chat, because if you ask those questions, we know the types of things that problems you're trying to solve, and we can help you solve them. And if I can't solve them or Chloe can't solve them, we have a team of people here at Wordfence who are a distributed team working around the world, finding the answers that are important to you. So we need to know from you what's critically important so we can get those answers to you. So again, if this was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up down below. If you want to be notified when the next Wordfence Office Hours is coming online, hit the subscribe button down below as well. YouTube will notify you when we are going live. So that's always helpful. And if you want to get Chloe's mailing later today about the vulnerability she discovered and what you need to do in order to protect your site against that vulnerability, make sure you go to wordfence.com and subscribe to the mailing list, because that's going to go out later today. So thank you to everyone who was in attendance. Thank you again to Chloe and Scott, who joined me here on this wonderful Tuesday office hours. You guys have fun doing this? Isn't this fun?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I love to hear about the work that you guys are doing and the things that you guys are hearing about in support and the vulnerabilities that you're finding, Chloe, and the research that you guys are doing. So I feel like it's really helpful to get together and sort of give our customers a window into what's happening inside of WordFence. Oh, so some things to do. Open.film, go watch our movie. We made a movie about the WordPress community. It's kind of fun. So it's only 13 minutes. It's not going to take that much out of your day, but it gives you an idea why WordPress is so popular. Make sure that you subscribe to that mailing list, another thing to do, and download that security audit report. Go audit your site. See what crazy stuff. And if you find some crazy stuff, write to us at feedback@wordfence.com and let us know what you found when you did your security audit that you didn't think was there, but that you wouldn't.
Did we lose Kathy?
I think so. I was like, is it just me?
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get some people writing in next week when we're live. Let us know what you found with your audit. If you found anything crazy, write in feedback@wordfence.com. And we appreciate everybody stopping by, and we hope to see you next week. So from all of us here at Wordfence, have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.